Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast. Now your host, Ace.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, unless there's a reason to, like, there's something that's jumping out at you. That's like, okay, yeah, we need to talk about that one.
But yeah, it's going to be a lot of Miami versus Florida. It's going to be a lot of,
even though those are not ranked, neither one of them are ranked.
Miami is. The U's ranked. They're number 19 in the
country. No, Florida isn't. That's right.
Florida isn't. But that's a huge game. Like, that's one of the big games. That's why it's on like 3:30. It's on ABC.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good game when they put it on the broadcast. Like, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. That's the game directly on after on ESPN. On ABC, right? 7 versus 20. 13 versus 23. BC versus Florida State. It's big time, baby. And they're not playing. Welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast. You got Ace and Malik.
What up, man?
Had
a nice break.
Back. Yeah, we had a nice 2-month break.
Yeah.
We were going to come back a week early, but I was on vacation, so I was taking my time. I was Long Island time.
I appreciate the extra time away. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. Where'd you go? Anywhere, son?
The same place I go every year.
You to where?
Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, okay.
I went to my bougie hangout. That's Anthony called.
That's where black people go to get cultured.
Yeah, I guess. Yes, it is. That's where the elite go to hang out.
Exactly.
That's right.
They go take pictures. And pretend they're not on the set of Get Out.
Well,
that's not the set of Get Out. That's not where it was filmed. Nope.
That show, that whole reality show, was it Martha's Vineyard, whatever, on Peacock?
Yeah, with that black family that like owns a winery or something like that.
I think they own a winery and it's a bunch of there's a bunch of people on there. It's kind of interesting. We saw them while we was out there. It wasn't filming. It must be filming early. There's no way they could be filming in August. It could be dropping about August, September. Just checking out the college football bracket for y'all. We're going to be getting on some of those. I'm going to talk about a couple of futures bets I made. One of my sports books I use. But right now, I'm talking about Temple versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma lost their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, to Oregon. Oregon is paying him $1.4 million. Thank you, Phil Knight. This young man appears to be Dylan Gabriel. He was pretty good for Oklahoma last year. Dylan Gabriel, I believe, was on his 6th year or 7th year of college football. He might be 24 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He started at UCF and ended up in Oklahoma. Now he's at Oregon. He's a professional college quarterback at this point. Oklahoma lost him. They're ranked 16 in the SEC. Starting for Temple, they're giving 42.5 points. Temple had Kurt Warner's son, E.J. Warner. And it does not look like, I would say this, it doesn't appear to me that Temple really has an outside shot of scoring too many points. So, I know this is a huge spread, but me personally, I think that they're going to crush it. It's going to be ugly, and it's going to get ugly. Temple's turning over the whole roster. They're one of the worst teams in the American Conference. Whatever. And them going to Oklahoma's 5 games, they'll bet over them, so they're going to get robbed. Don't expect much out of them. It won't be shocking if they lose by 50. Oklahoma's a very good defensive team. Brett Venables, former Clemson quarterback, they were crushing them. Christian Wilkins on the boards. They'll hunt this out. But it's worth. Don't be shocked at all. The next game, I think Malik's going to be able to join me talking about more. Clemson versus Georgia, Week 1, ABC, new kickoff. We're down there in the state of Georgia. 2 years in a row, they won the national championship. Still kind of king to the conference. That spread is minus 12.5 for Georgia. I think it started much more open early. But you've been paying attention to that game. 14 versus 1.
Yeah, the last time I saw the number, it was 15. So I'm not sure why it's trending. Why it's down to 12.5. There may be some storylines coming out of it, but the what I've heard so far is that folks, like, there's no real reason why people should be high on Clemson in this game. Like, they're 14 overall. They've always been, Dabo Swinney and his team have always been a bit of a, on the side of SEC powerhouses over the last few years. So, yeah, so maybe there's a reason to believe that it's possible to for Clemson to give Georgia a game. But it's neutral ground. So it's not being played in South Carolina or anything along those lines. And Georgia's just the better team, right?
Where's the game being played?
In Atlanta. If I'm not mistaken, it's being played in Atlanta.
It's being played at the where the Falcons play at the Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, that's the Aflac kickoff game. So it's being played at Mercedes-Benz. Yeah. So, even if if they're not playing in Athens, by virtue of playing in Atlanta, this is a Georgia home game. This is like, even though technically it's a neutral field, this is a Georgia home game. Georgia has the better team. Georgia has the, just overall better talent. And Georgia has the better coach right now. Kirby Smart is a better coach than Dabo Swinney at this point. And I'm pretty sure at any point, really, he's been better than Dabo Swinney. So there's no reason to believe that Clemson should. You
really don't think Dabo Swinney's that bad of a coach, though?
I've never been high on Dabo Swinney as a coach because I think Dabo Swinney has been very fortunate to have some pretty great quarterbacks play for him over the course of 6 seasons, right? He went from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, and then after that, it's been, middling to say the least. So I won't say he's a bad coach. I think he's pretty good at. Obviously, he's good at recruiting. His players love him. They want to play for him and all of that stuff. So that's all, well and good. I just think he's not, when he goes up against coaches who are a better, have a higher pedigree, that's when you see that he's not up to par with the folk, with the likes of a Kirby Smart. So by virtue of that, I think it's pretty much a wash. I think this is, I would, bet Georgia hard on this one. Everything kind of leans in their favor here. So I see no reason not to lay the 12.5, especially if it's currently 12.5. And,
that's the MGM line.
And roll with the dogs here.
Yeah. On the MGM line, that's who's got them. And, yeah. I have to check the other sports books, but they're pretty solid. Another big one that I wanted to talk about was Miami, Florida. Yeah. Hurricanes going into SEC country, in-state rivals, state championship, I guess, on the line, so to speak, because Florida will be playing UCF as well. So they're playing the ACC and the Big 12 in their own state now. Miami's got Cam Ward, big transfer out of Washington State, formerly of the Pac-12, now in the Pac-2. I have no idea who Florida's starting quarterback is. And formerly Anthony Richardson, who they didn't play enough, and they're kind of falling apart. I would say I'm leaning more on Miami because they're only -2.5 on the road. Over-under is 54.5, and I think Miami's going to kill them. I don't see much from Florida, and the fact that they aren't ranked in the SEC is saying a lot. You're kind of going divisionless, but I think it's going to be a real tough year for them. They have a monster of a schedule on the back 6 games. The last half 6 of the games are crazy. So, I don't know. It's looking kind of rough for me, but I'm leaning hard on Miami. I think this year is when they finally come through.
I think so too. Yeah, I saw that schedule yesterday. I was watching college football. I believe college football today, and I saw that schedule that that Florida has. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'll read it out for folks that don't know. So obviously they play Miami this weekend, and then their first 4 games are against. I'm sorry, their first 5 or 6. Their first six games are against unranked. But in November 2nd, they play at Georgia, then they play Texas, then LSU, then Ole Miss, and then Florida State. That is, I mean, like, that is about as bad as as bad a draw as you could possibly get. In if you're Florida, like, to play those schools back to back, like, you're not even spacing that out with like a Samford or like a some middling school that you can kind of get right against. You'll play Georgia and then you turn right around and play Texas. Like, that's not fun. That's not going to be fun at all, right? So, yeah, good luck to them. But yeah, so I think that, I think this has to be a game. This, for Florida to even think that they have a chance in the conference, they have to win this game. Like, this is a must-win game, because that end of the season schedule, I mean, if you're thinking about it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, if you go 3-2 in those, and you've swept out your rest of them, then you've got a legitimate argument to be in the playoff, even if you don't win the conference. But if you lose this opening game against Miami, your season's done before it started, right? Nobody's going to care about what happened at these other games, and you're not going to get the reasonable doubt when you get to those tougher games later on in the season. So for that reason, what was the line? What did you say the line was?
That line is at -2.5 right now at GM. All Miami has to do is win by a field goal. Yeah, and I think they'll kneel the ball down to make sure that happens this year.
Yeah, I think for that reason, I'm leaning Florida just to keep it close and maybe potentially pull the game out. I'm leaning for them to at least make things interesting, and maybe even pull it out late. I think it's a really good game, and I think that there's a good chance that Florida can sneak out with a win here. But I think I'll take the points on that Florida Miami game and see where things lay.
That's fair, and that makes sense. I feel you on that. Couple of easy wins I would say here is Michigan is playing Fresno State. Fresno State's coach just retired. Fresno State is kind of a dark horse in terms of making the Group 5 spot for the college football playoff. First year they're expanding to 12 teams. Michigan is -21 right now. I would buy that extra half a point. Take 21.5 against Fresno. Michigan never really ran to score, even on the bad teams that they played. They're a very defensive-heavy team, so I would kind of lean on that. And for my earlier pick on Temple, and why I was picking against them, DraftKings for the season has Temple's over-under wins at 2.5. The under 2.5 is -140. If they win 3 games total for the whole season, DraftKings has them at +120. So unless you're an alumni and you know something I don't know, nobody expects them to win more than 3 games, and this ain't going to be one of the games they win against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to beat the brakes off them, and they could beat them by like 48 or 50.
I mean, it's a 42.5 point spread. It's pretty much a lock that they're going to win this game. And the total right now that I'm seeing on FanDuel is 57.5, right? So what that basically means that they don't expect Temple to really score. I mean, like 6 points is probably the most. They're probably looking at them to score, if that. So
makes it kind of easy to take. Makes it kind of easy to take Oklahoma as like lock in college. Next up, we got Notre Dame Aggies. Notre Dame against Texas A&M Aggies, the Irish. 7:30 primetime game on ABC. 2 ranked teams, but still not the best matchup in my coming from the ACC this week. I like Notre Dame in this game. Notre Dame is getting 3 points right now on the MGM line. They're like plus 2.5 on DraftKings. I would bet it up to I would buy that point up just to make sure, and I would give them the 3.5 points. But I think Notre Dame's clearly the better team here. I think A&M's going in the wrong direction. They got a new coach, so we'll see. They're learning a new system. He was head coach of Duke last year. They brought him in over the summer after they had the big Jimbo Fisher $80-something million to go away, all guaranteed in that buyout. Great job. If you can get it, it'd be amazing for me personally, but that's wild. Paying more money for a guy not to coach than they are to the guy who's currently coaching the team. And the payroll and all the high-rated recruits that they got can really pan out. I'm leaning Notre Dame in this one. I think Notre Dame's going to have a pretty easy run to having a home game for the college football playoff, which is going to be dope. I'm not a big Notre Dame fan, but I think this year is kind of their year, and they're going to pull off a 10-win season or 11-win season. This is going to be one of their key ones against A&M early.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Notre Dame, I think to some degree, and I started hearing this earlier in the week, conversation around Notre Dame. Basically, the talk right now is if Notre Dame were to find a way were to win this game against Texas A&M, they're pretty much a lock for the college football playoff. One, by virtue of the fact that they don't have a conference championship game because they are an independent, so they don't play a conference championship game, which means they can't get a top 4 seed in the playoffs. The best seed that they can get is a 5th seed in the playoff because those top 4 seeds are reserved for conference champions. But also because
that really matters to them. I think they actually want that home game so they can make
no, it definitely doesn't matter to them. But I was just saying that from the standpoint of them, there's aside from they're playing, looks like they're playing about 3 ranked teams all year. They have this game against A&M. They have Florida State in the beginning of November, and then they close the season with USC, who is currently 23rd overall and may or may not be ranked by the time they play that game. So if you think about it, like, you're right. I don't see any reason why they can't string out 10, 11 victories and be sitting at 11. I don't see a game, honestly, on the schedule that they would be, that they wouldn't be favored in. Even the Florida State game, they're at home. And after watching what Florida State was unable to do last week, they don't look to be a juggernaut anymore now that Jordan Travis is gone. They don't look to be the type of team that, it's going to be too much to worry about. So Notre Dame could run the table. This is probably their toughest game, right, of the season. Right. So I lean them as well, especially since they're getting points here. I think Texas A&M can win the game. I think that's, it's not to say that Texas A&M can't win this game. They're pretty good. They're a pretty good team, and A&M is a difficult place to play. So I definitely think they could win this game, but I'll take the points with Notre Dame and roll with the idea that Notre Dame probably knows if they can get this one, it's pretty smooth sailing as long as they take care of business the rest of the way. So I think Notre Dame should be able to win this game, but I'll take the points with them. But I would not be surprised if Texas A&M pulled this game out.
Do you think they got a shot to win? Well, I'm going to be watching it because it's on ABC. I'm going to be flipping between that one at 7:30 and the next one, which is a rare must-win Week 1 game for Florida State. It was still somehow ranked number 10, and I think because technically the game they played last week, there is no Week 0.
Yeah,
it's all just one. It's all technically one Week 1.
What? See, we can get into. I don't like that because. Yeah, because here's the thing. So not everybody plays Week 0. Huh?
I enjoyed watching that game. It's like a thing.
No. It was a fine game, yeah. But nobody. Not everybody plays it, right? Not everybody plays Week 0, and just to your point, if you win in Week 0, you're. It's like everybody says, oh, it was Week 0, nobody plays, right? And then if you lose in Week 0, everybody's like, oh, what's wrong with you? You lost in Week 0. So
you lost to
last
Georgia
year,
Tech, though. No. It's not because you lost week 0. It's because you lost to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech manhandled, pushed you around the field with their offensive line like y'all little kids. And they said, I had a great day offensive line. So
I remember if I remember correctly, last year Florida State was 6th seed. LSU was a 12th seed, 12 ranked in the country. Week 0 at Florida State. That was the game we lost. We lost that game, and immediately we were bounced out of the top 25. And it was an uphill battle for the rest of the year to try to claw our way back into respectability in the SEC after a game that shouldn't have counted.
What?
Like in terms of shouldn't have counted against us in terms of rankings.
Count the game, but you played the game. You want to lose?
No, but I mean, like don't. Yes, you counted on our record. But don't count it against us in our rankings because it was week freaking 0. Don't tell me this is week 0. Tell me this is like not a big deal.
Hey, man.
But then it is a big deal.
Hey, man.
So
this ain't the Paul Feinbaum show. I don't know who you complaining to, but it ain't me.
That's my gripe. That's my gripe about week 0.
Well,
and Florida State got their comeuppance because they lost to Georgia Tech last week. So now they're gonna lose to BC.
I don't know if they're going to lose to BC, but BC, I was at that game last year up here in Boston. And I went to see Florida State. They said they were the number 3 team in the country, and it was a little bit later. I think it was at the end of September. Really nice weather up here in the fall. And,
BC played them well.
BC played them really well. 2 points.
Yeah. They almost beat them. I remember that game.
I was at that game, and if they hadn't missed that extra point, that might have been a very, very different game. It was an extra point miss. It was a field goal miss. And BC fans left there kind of shook. Well, Florida State fans left kind of shook. Like, I don't know if this year is our year. It turned out it wasn't your year, but that was for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, you guys won every game after that, but and
got left out the playoffs, so they still mad. Still mad at Herb Street about that. If you was watching college game days last week. I
don't care. 63-3 should be the thing that hurts y'all more than 63-3. 63-3 should be the thing that hurts y'all more than getting bounced out of the college football playoff, because that was a game against a team that you would have likely had to play in the playoff, and you got the brakes blown off of you.
Well,
and like I said, for seniors who if I was a senior and that was my last game, I'm not sitting that game out. I'm playing.
Well, according to BetMGM, all the guys that was going to pros opted out. They lost a lot of their offensive line, Jordan Travis and a bunch of others. And Keon Coleman, if I'm not mistaken. Correct.
Yeah. And a lot of good different Jordan Travis, right? I mean, he was already hurt, so.
He's in the NFL, though. He's in the league.
He was already injured.
Yeah, where they're getting
at the time.
BC, they got bet down, but BC is still getting 6.5 on BetMGM on DraftKings. I'm going to say it's like 12.5. Because the Levitar show was talking about earlier, and they had a lot of listeners. If you're listening to one talk right now, and they talk about bets they've made. It does legitimately affect the vibe. They're not really promoting it. They talk about it like same way we are. Your school, Malik, big game. LSU at USC. 2 teams that have both lost generational quarterbacks and are now in the NFL, leading the Bears and the Commies, respectively. I don't know if you could be drafted Jada Daniels in your fantasy teams, but I don't know who's replacing them for LSU. Well, they are ranked 13th, so this could really help.
Yeah, so the replacement is Garrett Nussmeier. He's been on the team for a while. I think this is he's been there for like 4. Yeah, he's a senior now. And he's more traditional SEC quarterback, drop back passer, get the ball out to his receivers. So I'm not too worried about him. Still worried about our defense and what we're going to do defensively from that standpoint. Our defense was not great last year. And bottom line is like probably not going to be great again this year, but we should be better than USC. USC losing Caleb Williams is huge for them. Obviously, you don't lose, to your point, like you don't lose a generational talent at quarterback and not see, a step down in productivity. And USC wasn't great even with him last year. So,
and their defense. They were losing games, scoring 35 points a game, which is some Patrick Mahomes type stuff.
Exactly. So, you're still, this is still the Pac-12. The Pac-12 don't exist anymore, but there's still a Pac-12 team. Okay. So this is still a Pac-12 team. So they're still going to give up 40 and they're still going to score 35 and give up 40. That's what's going to happen. So I expect the game to go, pretty well. I think 4.5 I think this right now I'm seeing this bet down to 4.5. Which I think is pretty good. I'm happy to take LSU and give the 4.5 points there. I think it's a high scoring game. Both defenses struggle a little bit.
The over under is at 64. You think it goes over that?
I think it goes over that number.
Really?
I think it goes over that number. I think this is one of those games. I'm not going to call it a track meet, but I think this is one of those games where the defenses just struggle to keep the offenses off the board.
LSU's defensive line is supposed to be that bad.
It's going to be better, but their linebacking core is. Our best players are. I can't remember middle or outside backer, but our best.
Are any of them juniors or seniors? Like
are there any
of them? So he's an NFL prospect. He drafted.
Oh yeah.
Goes out
We've got a couple of NFL level guys on the defensive side of the ball, but it's it's not. It's the collective, right? Where we've got to show. This Brian Kelly team has to show that they're ready to compete in this conference. And with Oklahoma and Texas now being in the SEC, to me, this is really putting the pressure on us to win these types of games. Win games where you're clearly the better team because our schedule is a very tough one. So I think it's going to behoove us to go to USC, get this win and win it pretty convincingly. I think it's about a 6 to 7 point victory for LSU. So I will give the points and go with the Tigers.
Fair enough. I'm leaning on your Tigers too. I have no idea who the quarterback is for USC. I'm not even gonna lie. I was reading. Well, I know who the quarterback is. I just don't have a lot of faith in him. Highly recruited. They did not get Malachi Nelson. He ended up leaving. So, and most of their wide receivers who were any good, they stuck around. But I believe Jerry Rice's son left and got drafted.
Yeah, he did.
They got a couple of really good kids, but it's kind of shocking, what the roster is looking like. And, it's mostly offensive, but they're really gonna have to show and prove out here who they really can go against. I don't know if you can just go ahead and replace Caleb Williams, and we'll give it to him. If you go play for Lincoln Riley, you will apparently just win the Heisman. Man's got 3 Heisman winners, so
yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they had another amazing quarterback, but the offensive line was also bad. I want to say it's either redshirt junior Moss Miller, and then there's also this guy's starting, but I think it's Jaden Maeva, who played at UNLV and then came over. He's a transfer from Hawaii, so he's supposed to be really good, but I don't know. That's a big step up in competition going from Out West to now essentially you're in the Big Ten playing different defenses. What would have been Pac-12. It just does feel kind of weird that conference is completely gone, but the defense is still pretty much. But it's what it is. Oh, another game I want to point out: 2 small schools with both FCS. James Madison, a darling last year from the Sun Belt, and Virginia. So if you drive from New York down to Atlanta, you will drive by JMU's campus most likely. And they're playing the Charlotte 49ers now in the American Athletic Conference, formerly of Conference USA. I think last year was their first year in the American. All these conferences moving around with games. The AAC is they make the most money out of all of them. But they usually get the best team. Memphis is expected to go undefeated this year around the table. Top spot with the favorite Charlotte overperformed last year. Jane Lou lost their coach, and a lot of their star players all went to Indiana. He's a job. So the coach took them to FCS and FBS, Kirk Sigmund. He is now gone, so they have a new head coach, new quarterback, and a lot of guys stepping up and making changes. So JMU was minus 9.5 on the road at Charlotte. I'm taking Charlotte as a home dog to cover that one. I think they're going to be solid, so I'm not, just want to point that out to people. Small schools matter too. But now we're going to move on to the NFL, and we're going to get into the win-loss for the conferences and the individual team records. back to NFL news. You saw that they finally got a deal done with Ayuk. Only chip left to fall is what are they going to pay my guy Trent Williams.
Yeah. Ayuk got $120 million, a little bit under the
$30 million
Jefferson money, but still pretty hefty deal for the wide receiver. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Trent Williams thing oddly was getting a lot less publicity, but I think he's a lot more valuable and important to that team. And we saw how it impacted Brock Purdy and that offense when Trent was down, when he went down last season, for like 3 or 4 games where he wasn't playing, and how it impacted just the overall offense's ability to operate and be successful. So, really interested in seeing how that plays out because he's still not reporting, but happy to hear that Ayuk got his money and, that situation is now laid to rest. So,
basically guaranteed most of the money as a signing bonus. So that's how he's getting it. So that's how they're fitting it in all in the cap.
Yep. Exactly. But yeah, so, glad to hear all that's going on. I just, honestly, even with Jamar Chase as well, just kind of want to see these guys get the money they want to get, from the teams, and then, work their way towards, getting back on the field and playing and producing, because this is what they're here for. So, happy that Ayuk got done, and looking forward to hearing Jamar Chase's name, in short order for Cincinnati, because
I think that's gonna happen. Personally,
I mean, look, man, these quarterbacks, as good as these quarterbacks are, they are not what they can be if they don't have those receivers catching the ball on the other side. It's a symbiotic relationship between the quarterback and the receiver, and it's not, one's not in anything without the other. So, guess what? If you want the best for Joe Burrow, you keep Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. You pay him. As much as Cincinnati, we know, has been a team that has been, for years known about being, relatively cheap, not wanting to spend money, and it's probably the reason why Joe Mixon is a Houston Texan right now. But Jamar Chase is one you break the bank for, just like, you break within the piggy bank for Jamar Chase, just like you did for Joe Burrow. Keep those two together.
That makes sense. If he wants more than Justin Jefferson, that's going to be a problem.
I mean, even if he wants, if he wants to be in the ballpark, I think the Justin Jefferson thing, it was a really, perfect situation, because Justin Jefferson doesn't play on a team that has a $50 million quarterback, right? He doesn't play on a team where, the team that he's playing on, when his money came up, Kirk Cousins was a free agent and they weren't going to keep him, and they'd already cut Dalvin Cook. So it was like, well, who the hell are we going to pay? We've got Sam Darnold coming in for a nickel and freaking JJ McCarthy on a rookie contract. So why not pay the receiver that we love and the best player and the most popular player on our team to stick around?
Star for your team.
Yeah,
everybody needs a star.
He's the reason why you watch the Minnesota Vikings right now.
He's the reason why you watch that receiver show.
Yeah. So,
although we'll get to our reviews of that later.
Yeah. So Chase is in a little bit different situation. Ayuk was in a similar situation with Purdy, because obviously he's not making any money right now, as a 7th round pick. But Chase is in a completely different situation, because Joe Burrow is making big time quarterback money, and yeah, it's going to be difficult to lock up $80 million of your salary cap in 2 players, right? That's not smart business in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah,
they might have to do it. If the quarterback's the most important, then the left tackle, who can make sure he doesn't get hit, and the star wide receiver who's going to catch all the touchdowns are kind of very necessary. Having a great running back like Mixon is a nice luxury that they were able to afford, and even they got to the point where like, we can't do this no more without sacrificing our defense. So it's just going to have to be what it is.
Yeah.
Moving on to do you want to do division winners, or do you want to do who's going to win the number 1 seed from each conference? Because I kind of like those odds.
The number 1 seed? Oh, so like just the number 1 seed? Okay.
Just winning the number 1 seed. So the favorite for the NFC, I'll let you guess it, but I think you know who it is.
Is it San Francisco?
Bing, bing, bang.
Okay.
San Francisco, plus 300. Philadelphia Eagles, plus 550. Detroit Lions, plus 600.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think that's I think between those three teams, if we just talk about those three teams, I think if you look at the divisions that they're in, you probably lean towards Philadelphia. At least two of the teams in that division, you don't expect to be, much of a challenge for them, right? So you're talking about the Giants and
I'd like to point out Atlanta Falcons plus 750. That's how much people think they're going to crush in that division.
They're a dark horse. I think honestly, I think they're a dark. That's another one where like the division being as kind of mid-level or mid as it is, may very well wind up, favoring them. I mean, it's really just Tampa Bay. New Orleans, as much as I like the Saints, they don't seem to be trending in the right direction. And then Carolina is still Carolina. So, that's why I said, like, of those three teams, the Eagles seem to be the one that's probably the safest bet for a number one seed.
What about the regular season superstars that are the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, yeah, they're obviously the ones that are they'll keep pace with Philadelphia, but it's really it's always between those two teams. It's always going to come down to their head-to-head matchups, right? So it's always going to come down to when Philly plays Dallas, who wins those games, and that'll be who determines who wins the division. Because I could see both of those teams winning 12 or 13 games, and it just being like honestly, it's just being the difference between one over the other in their head-to-head matchups, and that's it. And then they split those.
Yeah.
And that's even better.
Just for y'all who know at home, I'm getting all of these odds from FanDuel right now. So I think DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetMGM all have these different bets. I don't believe BetESPN does. I'm not sure, but you got to go to the sportsbook section, then the futures, and then NFL odds, and then they have number one seed. I believe that's what I'm in right now for FanDuel. For the AFC, I think it's kind of obvious. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, whose odds are actually better to win the number one seed. You get paid a little bit more. You pick the Chiefs instead of San Francisco right now. Chiefs are plus 350. They lost L'Jarius Sneed, but it looks like a clear runway in their own division. After that is Baltimore plus 500, which is pretty good money considering they won it last year. And the biggest name that they lost was Calais Campbell and Odell Beckham Jr. And OBJ didn't really give them much in the regular season. Oh, I can't even. And their outside linebacker opposite my guy, former Bears star, Roquan Smith. They lost, I'm blanking on his name right now. Number 0. He is no longer there. Forgot who picked him up. The Jets are plus 850 if you think this year is your year. And Aaron Rodgers is going to get that extra time off.
They're plus 850 for the number one seed?
For the number one seed, New York Jets. New York Jets, it's kind of interesting. So it goes Ravens plus 5. Cincinnati 650, Houston 800, 8-1, Bills 800, Jets 8.5, Dolphins plus 1,000, considering that they were running away with it last year. The Cleveland Browns are plus 1,800. The Steelers are plus 2,200, which means 22 times your buddy. Wow. And the longest odds of them all are the Patriots and the Carolina Panthers in the NFC. So yeah. And the team who made the playoffs last year, and the Browns are plus 1,800. And the Dolphins are plus 1,000. So you get 10 times your money. So for every dollar you bet, you'll get $10 back. Which is kind of bananas. The Bengals are up there, shocking. What were you going to say?
Yeah, nothing about I know I was just curious with the Jets just because they're favored even in the division, and I haven't seen anything to make me believe that they're that much better than Buffalo right now. And even if they are overall as a team better than Buffalo still has the best quarterback in the division. Josh Allen is still universally considered.
You think he's better than Rodgers right now?
he's universally considered a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not asking what the universe thinks. I want to know what you know.
Yes, I believe he's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. I believe he's a better player than Aaron Rodgers. And that's not knocking Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. Like until I see him, and he's 40 years old, coming off of an Achilles injury, and something that people they gloss over is like the dude hasn't had a 300-yard game in like 2.5 years. That's pre-injury, right? It's not like he's been lighting the league up. He won those MVPs like late in his career because the team was winning games and he was doing what he had to do, but he hasn't been like lighting up the league statistically, over the last few years. So, I don't expect him to be. I don't believe he's the best quarterback in the division. I think it's Josh Allen, and it's pretty clear it's Josh Allen, right? So, and the NFL has proven, like, if you have the best quarterback, you're going to win the majority of the games. Winning the division is pretty well there. So, I just think it's interesting that the Jets no, it's not Tua. No, it's not Tua. I like, and I don't dislike Tua. I just think Tua is very much, he has a lot of weapons, and he has a lot of weapons, and he has high highs and he has low lows, and I still got to see Miami, in particular, win a game against a, above 500 opponent. They didn't play well against good competition last year. So until I see that, I'm not going to believe that they're going to come out of the East.
All right.
At least not yet.
Bengals seem like a crazy pick this number 1 seed. My money right now is either on the Ravens or the Texans to win the number 1 seed. Houston has the easiest way in terms of their division and their record. And the Ravens being plus 500, they're still in the toughest division, but they seem to be running it right now. Although Steelers are in a much better spot with a much more confident quarterback and even a more confident backup. So, yeah, I don't know. They shipped off people that would give them problems on the offense, and the offensive line is even better. So, we will see how that goes.
Nothing changes with Baltimore. We know what Baltimore is. They're going to be the same that they've always been. Derrick Henry being there. I think Baltimore gets the number 1 seed again. As I also think that KC doesn't give a damn about the number 1 seed, and they've already shown that they can go ahead and beat you anywhere they need to play you. So
I think they want to keep playing AFC title games on the road. That game,
but I agree with that. But I think they'll prioritize rest and the opportunity to rest over pushing themselves to win like a 14th game in the regular season, right? If they get to, just like we were saying with their division, like I think if KC gets to 12 wins and they win the division and there's like 2 or 3 games left, I wouldn't be surprised if they, just took their foot off the gas a little bit, maybe rested a couple of starters that were dinged up. Doesn't mean like sit healthy players, but they'll play their healthy guys, and anybody that's not, 100% healthy will get a little bit of a breather. And they'd rather go into the playoffs healthy and ready to compete than not, and looking at a situation where they just want to get the number 1 seed and have everything go through KC. Because they prove they can take care of business either way.
I hear you on that. Give me 1 second, I'm going to pause. All right. So, which division did you want to start with for the division? Anyone in particular, or I know this was what you wanted to talk about.
Well, let's start with our division. Ace. We're both fans of NFC North teams. You have the Bears and we have the Lions, of course. Let's start with our division.
I like that one. The odds in that one are interesting. No team is minus any odds, so there's no overwhelming pick.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of preseason energy. I don't know if it's Hard Knocks related or Jordan Love related. There's a lot of preseason energy towards the Bears and the Packers in terms of unseating the Lions as the division winner. And it, frankly, speaking as a Lions fan, it's a little disrespectful. I think it's a little bit disrespectful, but
really?
You know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. It means that, obviously the Lions have to prove that they're worthy of the status of being the kings of the North. which is my new fantasy football team name, by the way. But I think that I think the betting lines reflect that. One line that I actually do think is a really cool one, though, is one bet that I think is really cool one here is plus 1,300 on FanDuel to predict the outcome of the season, right? So
specifically, like game by game, or for which team?
No, it's plus 1,100 to predict the exact order of the division. So right now, you can get for plus 1,100, you can get Detroit Lions 1, Green Bay Packers 2, Vikings 3, Bears 4, or you can go plus 650, which is probably the most, plus 750 to go Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings. I like that bet. I'll take 7.5 to 1 odds on Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings. I think that's a pretty cool one. Plus 650 if you want to go, if you flip the Bears and the Packers in there. So I think that's a pretty cool bet for the exact order of it. And you're getting more there than you would be on just laying, $20 on the Lions to win the division, or even the Bears, because that's one thing about it is Ace, and I'll let you go from here. It's like I kind of wanted the Bears to be a better bet, to kind of juice it a little bit. And plus 340 is not really that. It's not really that juicy. It's better than the Lions and the Packers, but
yeah,
it's really not spicy, right? It's really like it's cool. You'll win some money, but I wanted it to be a little bit higher in order for me to throw something at that.
No, I got you. It makes sense. My whole thing is just let me get the odds.
I can give you the odds. So right now in the NFC North, Detroit is plus 130, the Packers are plus 200, Bears are plus 340, and the Vikings are plus 850 to win the division.
I was going back to, oh wow, that means the odds for draft just to win the division. That's interesting.
Just to win the division, yeah.
The odds on DraftKings are on plus 280 for the Bears, so that means a lot of Bears fans bet that down. They're plus 230 for the Packers on DraftKings. So maybe that's because of geographically where everybody is, because sports betting people. So it's a lot more people out there betting. So maybe people in Chicago are tipping the lines, and then Baylor and in Ohio. There's a lot of Bears fans over there in Indiana. So that means that the Bears more favored to actually win the division. I think it's unlikely. They lose on a tiebreaker at best. But I do have that bet from, I think we were talking about the NBA Finals. We were close on football. I said the Bears are going to win 11 games. So I'm still sticking with that. I took the win total because it was over 8.5.
8.5, yeah.
Yeah, I think they win. I think they could legitimately win 10 games and have a winning record easy first year. They go 10-7 just on the strength of defense. Caleb Williams just being as good as Justin Fields was last year, making less mistakes, which I have faith that he will make less mistakes. He seems more like a prepared quarterback than simple prepared. He makes less mistakes and takes less chances, and it's much more accurate. So it seems like a better bet to me. So let's contrast these lines. What is the Chiefs' odds? I want to talk about the AFC West. What are the Chiefs' odds to win the division? Because of DraftKings, it's minus 260.
So the Chiefs' odds on FanDuel is minus 270, followed by the Chargers at plus 390, Raiders at plus 1,000, 10 to 1, and the Broncos at 20 to 1.
Broncos here are 20 plus 2,200, so they're trying to get you to put that money on there. And they know damn well there ain't no chance they're going to win that. Although they did beat the Chiefs last year, which I thought was going to save Russell Wilson's job, but it did not. I will say this.
Yeah, this is a
the Lions should win the NFC North.
They should. Yeah, they should. But going to the AFC, but to me, this is a don't play. Don't play this.
Why?
Just don't.
Why not?
Just don't. I mean, you
take the Chiefs. Take the Chiefs on DraftKings. The odds better.
Take the Chiefs, but I mean, like, it's a negative play, right? To me, I see. To me, I like futures bets because the NFL is as much as the NFL is a type of league where anything can happen, right? Like NFL prides itself on being on parity and inconsistency, and anybody can win and so on and so forth. So I kind of so going into the beginning of the season when you're first, starting out, if you already got a team that's got a negative, it's got a, that's an overwhelming favorite to the point where they are the highest favorite, in the NFL, in their respective division. It's not a clean bet. Like, if you're going to do that bet, then, I'd say, just throw something at like I'd take the Ravens at plus 145 over the Chiefs at minus 270. I think it's a bet. I think that's just a smarter bet.
You want any multiplier over having to give away, having to lay any kind of odds for a futures bet.
It's a futures bet,
Even
right?
If you think
Exactly.
It's a lock.
Yeah. Even if I think it's a lock, I would prefer to lay it on a not on a futures bet, because anything can happen. So just lay something on a something that's a nice multiplier for you that actually has the chance of happening, rather than like throwing just you'll win, sure, the Kansas City Chiefs will win the division, you'll win $15, congratulations. But it's like you watch 17 games to watch the Kansas City Chiefs win. But if you're sitting there at, and you've got plus 550 on the Saints, and like you get to week 17 and the Saints are actually, 2 games or a game out of first place, it's exciting. You could win some pretty good money. You put $50 on the Saints and you're coming home with some pretty good money, So that's what I mean.
That's fair. I got you. Well, in that case, if you think Bills can still win the AFC East, the Bills have the best odds on DraftKings plus 195. If you think the Dolphins' year is this year because the Bills' defense looks kind of soft, the Dolphins are third with plus 205. So what's it saying over there at FanDuel? So I like the Dolphins to win this division, if not the Jets. The Jets are the favorite. They're still plus 165 right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so on FanDuel, the Jets are plus 160, the Bills are plus 195, Dolphins are plus 210, and then the Patriots, forget about it. If you're putting money on the Patriots, you're just throwing your money away at this point.
A lot of belief. That's a lot of belief in Drake May.
Well, he's not even the starter right now.
That's
fair. They just announced
but
Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starter going into the beginning of the season.
I think he'll be starting by the end of the year, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean they're gonna stink, so yeah, there's no reason to keep Jacoby Brissett out there if they're bad. I mean, if they're good, then maybe he'll continue playing, but they don't expect to be good. So yeah, I think Drake May is. I think Jacoby is just keeping the seat warm. That's all.
Colorado has pulled ahead in the fourth quarter, folks. 24-20. Yeah. The Lions should win that division. That would be my pick for them to win. I have the Bears coming in second, but the Packers. And I'd like to see the Vikings get up above the Packers, but who knows? Maybe Anthony's right. He was talking all of that craziness about how the Jets were ruin Sam Darnold. The guys finally getting a real chance with a real team. So we'll see. Justin Jefferson plays all year between him and Addison. I can see it happening. The running back situation is pretty terrible, but the Lions defense is good. So is the Bears. The Packers defense usually disappoints, but that seems a bit fluky. I also like the odds of the Buccaneers too. I can easily see them win that division. Kirk Cousins is really good in close games. Buccaneers are plus 320 here. And yeah, it seems to be the best odds. I mean, it seems kind of obvious about who thinks they have in front. It goes Falcons, Bucks, Saints at plus 400, and then Panthers plus 1100. It shows you how trash the Pats are. Broncos, who are plus like 29,000. And the Giants are plus 2,000 to win the NFC East, which I don't think any team's repeated. So maybe the Cowboys win last year.
The Cowboys won the division last year, so Philadelphia
should win this year, or
should probably win this year, or
Commanders come up and surprise everybody.
I mean, I'd love to see that because that would likely mean that Jaden Daniels, he cashes me in for my Jaden Daniels Rookie of the Year. Yeah,
well, you know, Scooby Caleb. Come on, stop.
Okay. I have some money laid down on that, so.
You know what? You know, I have this. They have these crazy bets you can put on individual players like touchdowns. So I have the Bears running back DeAndre Swift. I have him getting 10 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving touchdowns for the entire season, all 17 games. It is plus 11. So he just has to catch 5 passing TDs and then run for 10, which I think is very possible. It's unlikely. He's never had a season that good, but if he does have a season that good, things are looking up for me. I'll tell you that right now. That's where my money's going. Final conference winner. I kind of like this one. It's pretty similar. It's about who's going to basically who they think they'll get 1 seed, but the Lions' odds are better for this. They're plus 550. Oh, for them to actually win the conference championship.
Win the conference, right.
So they could
the NFC.
So you could bet them to be the 1 seed and then also win the conference title game. You could win 1 and lose 1.
Yeah. Stop at Super Bowl bets and then we can move on there.
Yeah, we gonna stop some. And we're back. We're a break from our sponsors. Sheets and Giggles. Use promo code Uptown. 20% off any order that is still active. And another commission code we're going to be coming out with on our next show on Monday. What would be the most unlikely team to make the playoffs? Worst to first. We're going to end up
worst to first. I mean, let's see. That's a difficult.
Winning. Yeah.
That's a difficult. Like we just say New England, right? Did you say New England and move on, or Carolina and move on?
Well, who actually has an opportunity to win? Well, actually, technically, everybody has an opportunity this season. They started yet, but
oh, wow. I would say which conference is wide open, or which division is most wide open, in my opinion. So for a worst to first finish,
could Carolina actually win the NFC South?
That's the one that I'm leaning towards, but I'm actually also leaning towards. I'm also leaning a little bit towards the AFC South. You know, is really? Houston really for real? Are they legit? You know, are they the legit best team in that division?
They added a better running back and another top wide receiver. They're not better than. I don't know what's better.
I mean, that's right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, you've got some. There's some variables within that division that we're just not sure of, right? So, you know, Indianapolis, you know, Anthony Richardson was there for 2 games. Then he got hurt and never came back. And so you don't know what they're going to look like. You know, they were looking like an interesting team at that point. You know, Tennessee, you know, they're entering the, you know, post Derrick Henry era, but Will Levis did make some pretty good moves. You know, he did some pretty good things at the quarterback position last season. And so the option of the ability for him to get, you know, even a little bit better with the new head coach is there, you know. And then, of course, you've got Jacksonville. They won the division the previous year. Was able to get a playoff victory, you know, make it to the divisional round. So, you know, this is a team that's a team that's not really, you know, they've had recent success, you know, with this team. So I think that's the most wide open division because, you know, Houston is still a bit of a misnomer. Like there's a lot of people are really high on them, but I wouldn't be surprised. Would you be surprised if they took a step back? I wouldn't.
Would, because the quarterback is so young and he looked so professional and so prepared last year. So him coming into his second year, I don't expect that much of a drop off. And I think Diggs only helps him.
I don't expect it. Let me correct myself. I don't expect it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
It's possible. I got you. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I will say this. And you know, what I was thinking really is outside of the AFC South, they could slip. AFC West. Can somebody get up ahead of the Chiefs? It seems very unlikely. I can see them winning the division at least. But if you told me this is their worst year ever, or something crazy happens, or whatever, barring any, crazy injury or something like that. Or even outside of that, team that was the worst in the division last year being the first one. You can't really see it happening in the NFC North. The AFC West, I can see the Chargers coming back. I can see them being that good again.
I mean, yeah,
Harbaugh knows how to
being
coach.
there is definitely going to bring some stability to that team, that organization. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
They got the QB to do it. It's just whether or not they got any wideouts for him to go to. He's going to be standing up. So they got Joe Wall now, so the offensive line is going to be a hell of a lot better than it was. And they still got a pretty good pass rush, Bosa and Mack. So we'll see how that goes. The defense should be a lot better this year. They got Blake Corum, so they definitely got a much younger running back, even though I thought they were pretty good last year. But the Chargers had a tough year. They still had any fans from back then. Yeah. Oh, Pittsburgh. Well, actually, Pittsburgh's not really the worst team in that division. We all know what that is. That is the Browns. Well, the Browns made the playoffs. Pittsburgh was won. Pittsburgh last place was Cincinnati. I guess technically Cincinnati.
Yeah, but that was all based on the fact that Burrow was out there, didn't play most of the season. So
yeah,
expect a healthy year from Burrow. Then Cincinnati's on the short list for being a favorite in the conference. So
it would have to be that, or it would have to be them or Arizona. I keep forgetting. Everybody in fantasy keeps talking about Kyler Murray because of Marvin Harrison Jr. Who's over under on season yards is 1,000. If he hits the over, it's like minus 140. It used to be even money, like minus 110 or minus 120. It's now minus 140. We're going to move on. We're going to head on to our shout-outs. We're giving you all a lot of show, but we're going to be back each week making picks, talking about different things. Go ahead. Actually, I'm going to go first, unless you're ready.
Okay, go
ready?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead with your shout-outs.
Oh, no, I thought you said you asked me if I was ready, like you're going to go. So.
All right, my bad. I'm going to go. Netflix, I just heard they're going to be doing a documentary on Mr. McMahon, talking about all the crazy stuff that he had going on. That's going to be coming out soon in the next month or two. Brought to you by the guy who did Tiger King, who I guess is now their go-to person. He did some crazy documentary about this woman and exotic monkeys on HBO.
Yeah,
you've been
seeing
that,
I heard
which is
about that.
like, I don't know how he gets these animal people to talk to him. He's just like their best friend, but I don't know if I would, because that Tiger King guy ended up in prison, federal prison. I have to deal with him, so who knows? I haven't started watching it yet, but we will see. It's going to be him and Bill Simmons are putting this documentary together for Netflix. So it's not going to be like the Untold series, which is kind of turning into the Told series. Because the death of Steve McNair, if you were alive then, you know exactly what happened. And the Conor Stallions one is kind of disappointing. So I don't really know what they're kind of doing with that. They started out pretty good with Manti Te'o and Johnny Manziel. You actually found out stuff you didn't know. But if you were alive, and I forgot when Steve McNair passed away, but I want to say like 2007, 2008, right? Was it like even earlier, 2011 or 2012? You knew exactly what happened to him. But this documentary about Mr. McMahon, McMahon, it's going to be wild, considering like where he is now. There's no way they're gonna get him to talk about it. He's not gonna get anything. I still think he's being sued by everyone. He almost got away with it. It's gonna be interesting to see how they talk about it. And also Michigan and all the fallout from that whole sign stealing scandal and the advanced scouting thing. The man's clearly up on a documentary, just lying his ass. So you got right now. You know, for my review of draft, and shout out to Netflix, man, all the sports documentary I'm enjoying. And shout out to my Bears, Hard Knocks. It's a little bit boring, but it's still not the worst season. But the worst season ever is when St. Louis left. It's when the St. Louis Rams left and went to LA. When they followed them in the Chargers. That is the worst Hard Knocks I've ever seen.
That was the COVID one, right? Yeah.
No, it's pre-COVID. That's pre-COVID. They moved out there in 28.
That was the one where they were doing all the COVID testing. I remember that one.
Nah, that's the one where they were playing like Pokemon Go. Like that's how long ago that was. I want to make sure I get this right, but nah, you're talking about the COVID testing one. I forgot which year that was, but it wasn't that. LA.
That was the two LA teams, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, LA Rams, Hard Knocks.
Rams Chargers. It was a Rams Chargers LA centered Hard Knocks where they went like back and forth between the two teams, and they played games against. They played games with nobody on the field.
Yeah, the Rams were on Hard Knocks in 2016. I'm talking about the 2016 one.
Oh, you know, 2016. Okay,
that was when they moved, wasn't it? Wasn't that when they moved from St. Louis to LA?
It could have been. I don't remember.
They must have did it twice. I think you're right. They did it twice. But,
yeah, they did. They moved from they were in LA, then they moved from LA to St. Louis, and they moved back from St. Louis to LA. But they definitely did Hard Knocks for them twice.
You're right. The 2021. Yeah, that one was pretty bad. Cowboys was interesting. Well, the Cowboys was like kind of The Houston one was kind of boring in 2015, but the 2016 Rams, I think, legitimately, that was the worst one. That was the least interesting. Funniest one was the Falcons in 2015. Because the assistant coach was wild. It was wild out of pocket. And the one with Dan Campbell actually made me like, the Atlanta Falcons coaches back in 2014 was, it was getting into spaces for no reason. It was all over the place. Like, I can't believe this has been going on literally since we were like 20 years old. So that's wild. Or 21, I should say. And it's 20 years since the Bears finally got on. The Dolphins have done it twice. Who's going to be in the in-season? Oh, they're doing a whole division.
Yeah, they're doing the whole AFC North.
I think they're doing that to make sure that they have better storylines.
Better storylines and probably a bigger interest from fan bases, because I would say of the three series, that's probably the one that's least watched. Because football's actually going on during that time, and I don't imagine if you're not a fan of the team that's being followed and you're actually still actively following your own team, you're probably not checking in for that.
The Dolphins last year were interesting, and so were the Cardinals the year before, because it just went from here, it went from the top to the bottom real quick. So shout out to them for even doing this.
Well, I watched the Cardinals one after the season was over. Like I didn't watch it while it was airing.
And the Indianapolis Colts one, because if they won that last game, they would have made the playoffs, and Carson Wentz might still be the quarterback there. It was like 3 years ago, 2021. This one.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Shout out to my Bulls for getting a win. Go UB, horns up, and shout out to the crazy college football season. I'm going to be there all year. What you got, Malik?
Just two. A real one and a funny one to me, at least. Shout out to like you've mentioned, the NFL is back. Shout out to the fall season. This is
season of fall.
Always my favorite season of the year. Was that
pumpkin spice season?
It's just, it's my favorite season of the year. All the flavors in all of your stores change. There are all these interesting flavors, and you go apple picking and do all these things that you don't do in the other seasons. And then you got football, and you've got baseball playoffs, baseball season winding down, the playoffs getting ready to start. Basketball is going to be coming back relatively soon. The WNBA is cooking. We talked about the WNBA more this year than we've ever talked about the WNBA, and those playoffs are likely to be very interesting. Yeah, it's just really interesting. It's a really great time to be a sports fan in the fall. And so looking forward to everything that's coming. Obviously, we're back as well. So, you guys will be hearing us, like Ace said, and, just shout out to everybody that's stuck with us for the last 4 years. And hopefully we'll help you win some money again this year, like we did last year and the year before that, because we're always well over 50%. We're always well into the 60 percentile in our best bet. So stick with us and you'll run it out.
That's true. We've been picking every single game past couple of years. We're gonna be switching it up this year, just so y'all know. I believe we're only gonna be picking 8 games or 7 games.
7 or 8 games. Yeah. We haven't, depending upon the,
still 5 best bets from everybody. So everybody's
exactly.
going to be able to get to do that, and they'll be able to pick which ones they want. We're not making them pick certain games or not. Exactly. That first week of the season, I am going to be keeping you updated on my Survivor, which I'm really looking forward to. A lot of these daily fantasy companies are pretty good with that, because Survivor will technically counts as daily fantasy. So you can do that with a bunch of different companies. So check all the different ones, who's giving out promos or whatever. And I think that's the easiest one. It's just straight up win loss. They don't have to win by the spread, which is crazy. That makes it real tough. But last year, I made it all the way to 11 that money was spent in my head. I had new car seats. I had seats. I had a Sherlin on. I was living my best life. I was so ready to spend. Yeah, I was so ready to spend all of that. I was so ready to spend all of it.
That's crazy.
I was about to get me a 3D wraparound TV. Sorry, finish your shout.
No, I said last shout out before we roll out of here. Last shout out. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a very interesting story. So, you remember former NBA player Glenn Big Baby Davis?
Yeah.
You know he's going to jail, right?
Yeah, you know that's Van Lathan Jr.'s cousin.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so he's going to jail for fraud. For defrauding.
He said he didn't do it though.
Yeah, whatever. He got convicted. He's going to jail. So that's not the funny part. The funny part of the story is that the story just came out that they're allowing him to delay his prison sentence to finish a documentary that he's recording on his life.
How long has he got to go away for?
3 years. And the reason why they're allowing this to happen is because he has to pay back roughly $80,000 in restitution.
So this will
the thought is that the money that he can get from filming this documentary can pay back that restitution, and then he can go to jail and be happy. The first question I have is who's watching the Glenn? Are you interested in the Glenn Big Baby Davis documentary? Is that something that you're checking for?
I am now because he's going to prison, and I don't think, to be completely honest, like the type of fraud that he got convicted of, I don't think he should be going to jail. I'm gonna keep it on.
I can kill it. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look into that more. I'm gonna look into that more in more detail. I don't really care about that, but like you're going to jail, whatever. You did something wrong, whatever. You're going to jail anyway. But I find it.
You were never going to watch this regardless of what.
I wasn't watching this regardless, so he's not getting my money. But I hope I hope that this is allowed. I just want to say, if you're getting ready to go to jail, you committed a murder, and you're like, you know what? Can't go to jail yet. Can't go to jail just yet. Working on this album, homie. Let me finish my album first, and then
Vybz Kartel released the album from prison in Jamaica. Just saying, like, I don't know how he did it. I think he's talking about how he did it now, but that sounded real clear. And he said he did it on an iPhone from inside. So I'm like, how? Okay, all right.
I mean, this is a really interesting.
And Little Kim filled the whole series with BET back in the day when she was going to federal prison for lying about who she knew. If you remember that, I remember watching that. That's crazy. I remember watching that. So, you know what? I guess I'm the audience. You're not the audience, but I'm the audience. I will watch it. I'll watch a documentary. Well,
you enjoy Glenn Big Baby Davis's documentary and supporting, and maybe his GoFundMe that'll help support his him paying restitution for his fraud scheme.
You watching this, get some there. I hope, pay him off. Hope he'll come out, go back in the big three. You know what? I have a shout out, I would say. The Olympic 3x3. First of all, it's 3 on 3. The X is, I don't know, that's some international bullshit. But shout out to the U.S. men's national team for playing in our faces and sending 4 white dudes to go win us a gold medal in basketball. I don't know who they was joking. I know we got a lot of white listeners. Shout out to my good friend Nate from back in the day. I know he's listening somewhere in Texas, California, wherever he's living right now. But ain't no way the United States of America has ever entered a basketball competition with no black people on the court and said, we're out here to win.
Well,
I mean, taking it serious.
Part of the reason why is because the Olympics did not allow them to send NBA players.
That's fine, but we don't need to send current NBA players. You telling me Steven Jackson couldn't have been on that team? We would have had a much better chance.
No, I don't want Steven Jackson on that team.
I
want Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson recording the Up in Smoke podcast from the Olympics. No, I'm okay with that.
We don't need Matt. We just need Steven Jackson. If Jack was on that team, they're bringing home at least a silver. I'll give him a silver medal. He could be out there with me, you, him, and Jimra, and we still might get it.
I mean, not for nothing. I mean, this is probably be interesting. Like, I wouldn't have minded if they licensed a few, the old N1 Street, but like this would have been a really cool thing when N1 was around, right?
Oh, like when you get AO and like.
Like that would have been really cool to have some of those have some of those players.
You know what?
Or even if they
see a lane for them.
Yeah, like I could see that happen, and I think that would have been really cool if we can't bring NBA players, for whatever reason. Then we put together a team of
tired dudes. The dudes been out the league 2-3 years. a 40-year-old Vince Carter would have been a better option.
I don't think. I mean,
the
honestly,
unknown
sure,
Barry
but I don't
brother.
think I want that. I don't think I want the big three.
You don't need the big.
I don't think I want the champions from the big three to go. I don't know. I don't think I want to see retire. I kind of like the idea of this 3v3 tournament, Olympic style tournament, being a truly amateur.
So wait a second. You're telling me other teams run sending their pros that we just don't know about that are playing like third division pro basketball in like the Adriatic League or something?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm saying I would. I think that there should be a lane for amateur basketball players to play in a tournament, in a tournament and get themselves some recognition. So, in the same way that like the basketball team is probably the two basketball teams, right? Unless you follow any of these sports, like outside of basketball, like unless you follow gymnastics, you follow swimming, you follow track and field, like, pretty consistently, you probably only know one or two people coming into the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
The basketball team is the only one where you know the whole roster. Literally everybody on those rosters because you watch the NBA. So I kind of like the idea, like, sure, we continue to send our best in NBA players and WNBA players to the Olympics to win that gold medal, but the 3-on-3, yeah, let it be some people who can build a name for themselves, like who can actually, or people that we don't know and that could actually build a name for themselves and win a gold medal. So, make it at least to some degree relatively amateur. I'd be cool with that.
All right, that's fair. I know I cut off your last shout out. But Glenn Big Baby Davis, the documentary.
Enjoy making your documentary. I hope that it goes well. I won't be watching, but Ace will. He'll give us a review.
The receiver show was not as good as the quarterback show. I don't know why. It was just a lot less boring. Devontae Adams wanted to fight every quarterback on that team. That's what I do know. He wanted to fight every quarter. He was tight. He was tight the whole season.
I don't blame him.
He was tight the whole season. He was like,
I don't blame him.
He was going up to Jimmy G like, listen.
Look, shout out to the NFL Films people for displaying that, because they literally showed every bad throw. Like I was blown away by the fact that like Devontae Adams caught 100 balls last season. Like he actually did. So there were over 100 passes that he caught that were actually in his vicinity, because every pass that was thrown to him on that show was way out.
Yeah.
Incomplete, intercepted. Like you made it look like he was basically playing with romper room guys.
His Madden rating needs to be 100. His catch on Madden needs to be 100. If it's near him, he's bringing it in.
Exactly.
Near him, he's bringing that in.
Exactly. So yeah. But yeah, I agree. The receiver show was not as good as the quarterback show.
And
which sucks because
I know. And you missed this. So your Jets are probably gonna lose their first game. So when you're listening to this, I just want you to know that. And on that note, we out.
Peace.